Welcome back. In this new video, I'm going to be sharing a new story. It's about how life looked in Britain in the 1960s. And it's so different compared with nowadays. Here is the story. Lost habit from 1960s in Britain. Have you ever wondered how everyday life in Britain once looked so familiar, yet so different? The 1960s weren't just about rock and roll and miniskirt. They were filled with daily habits that every family knew by heart, but that have now completely vanished. Some of them were quirk, some practical, but all of them gave life its unique rhythm. Let's take a trip back and remember the everyday things Brits once did that no one does anymore. Greeting everyone. It was impossible to walk down in British Street in the 1960s without exchanging polite greetings. A simple good morning or afternoon was second nature. Neighbors, postmen, shopkeepers, even strangers at the bus stop. Everyone got a nod or a smile. Children were drilled in manners from an early age, and forgetting a please or thank you brought a quick correction from their parents. It wasn't about friendship, it was about decency. Today, screens and headphones have swallowed those small exchanges, but back then they stitched community together. Good morning, good morning, Mrs. Anderson. Good morning, postman, and so on. Reading the morning paper. The day starts with the rustle of a paper and the smell of a fresh ink. Every household had their paper of a choice, tucked under arms on the way to work or spread across the breakfast table with a strong cup of tea. The crossword was a daily challenge. Headlines sparked lively debates, and even kids could flip through the comics and football scores. News traveled slower but felt more solid, something you could keep and reread. It's hard to imagine how now, but millions of a conversation every day began with, "Did you see in the paper this morning?" Memorizing phone numbers. Before smartphones, everyone carried numbers in their heads. Family, friends, the doctor, even your neighbor's number was memorized. Kids were taught to know their home phone by heart in case of emergencies, and every household had a fat phone directory sitting next to the landline. Rotary dials meant if you got one digit wrong, you had to start all over again. Knowing a number showed closeness. Today, most of us can barely recall more than one or two numbers. But back then, it was just a part of daily life. Fixing things yourself. A dripping tap or a broken chair wasn't a reason to call someone out. People took pride in repairing things themselves. Dads taught sons how to change a fuse or patch a bike tire, while mums done socks and sewed buttons back on coats. Hardware shops were busy places filled with people buying screws, washers, and glue. Neighbors lent each other tools, and every mistake was a lesson learned. Fixing something wasn't just about saving money. It was about pride and self-reliance. Washing lines. Back gardens in the 60s were never complete without washing lines stretching from fence to fence. Mondays were wash days, and you'd see whole streets decorated with fluttering sheets, shirts, and school uniforms. The smell of clothes dried in the open air, mixed with soap powder, was unforgettable. Children often played hide and seek between the lines, while mums kept a nervous eye on the sky, you know, in case the rain came. If it did, there'd be a mad dash to pull everything in. Neighbors quietly judged each other on how white their sheets were, and even the way clothes were pegged. Tumble dryers might be convenient, but they'll never beat the fresh, crisp feel of laundry swaying under the British sky. Family meals and manners. Meal times were more than just eating. They were a lesson, discipline, elbow and off the table, napkin of your lap, and don't even think about speaking with your mouth full. Kids were expected to sit up straight, wait politely to be asked if they wanted seconds or some second helpings, and always say thank you. On Sundays, Dad carved the roast while Mum dished out the veg, and the whole family sat together without television or distraction. Even weekend night meals had rules, and small slip-ups were quickly corrected. It wasn't always fun, but many look back and realize those moments shaped respect, patience, and even character. Today's rush dinners in front of the TV feel like a different world entirely. Writing letters and written letters were once an essential part of our life. People wrote pages to family far away, friends in the next town, or even pen pals abroad. Envelopes were carefully addressed, stamps chosen, and then wait for a reply could stretch for weeks. Receiving a letter was a real event, and many were kept in the drawers, tied with ribbon, read and reread until the ink faded. People pride in their handwriting and in crafting sentences that sounded just right. Text and emails may be quicker, but they can't capture the same feeling as a handwritten letter that someone took the time to create. Paying with cash. Sorry. Coins clinked in purposes, and notes were folded neatly in wallet. Cash wasn't just money, it was the way you budgeted. Envelopes for rent, saving, or holiday funds sat in kitchen drawers, and every transaction was physical. Shops trusted cash. Change was counted aloud, and even kids learned to value of money by the weight of coins in their pockets. Contactless card might be convenient, but they'll never replace the feeling of handing over cash you'd earn with hard work. Watching television together. Television wasn't background noise. It was the evening's main event. Families gathered around a single set, often black and white, with the aerial adjusted for the best reception. Everyone watched the same show at the same time. Coronation Street, Blue Peter, and more camp and wise. They were more than entertainment, they were talking points for day afterwards. Kids sat cross legged on the floor, parents in armchairs, snacks carefully portioned out for the evening. If you miss a program, you simply had to wait, sometimes forever, for a repeat. There were no second chances. That shared experience made TV feel precious. It was something that brought families and even whole neighborhood together, queuing patiently. And of course, there was the queue from the butcher to the bus stop. People lined up quietly and waited their turn. Jumping the queue was unthinkable. It wasn't just about order, it was about respect. Queues often turn into little community with a polite notes, a small talk about the weather or rising prices. Today, impatience and convenience have pushed that traditional aside, but for generations, queuing was part of daily life and a part of what made Britain Britain. From polite greetings to washing line, from handwritten letters to family huddled around the telly. These everyday habits once shaped Britain's identity. They weren't dramatic, but they made life feel more connected, more respectful, and more human. And we can say the same thing in Italy. You know, so many similarity I can see with Britain's lost habit in our country, even in South Italy. Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.